Hello, sportsmen. You know, Thanksgiving is a time when we take a break to give thanks for what we have, and some people are just grateful to be alive, like Bill Yoder. Bill raises deer and takes them around to display so the public can get acquainted with deer firsthand. Now, 1 year ago tomorrow, Bill had a tragic run-in with one of his big bucks. This run-in almost cost Bill his life. That story coming up and a lot more, so you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost, sometimes known as the Practical Sportsman.
He picked me up and carried me down this alley and back on his head. But the velvet business is
Last
big.
summer, we introduced you folks to Bill Yoder and his live North American big game shows. Bill raises white-tailed deer, mule deer, and other big game animals that he keeps in large pens next to his home in the woods near Clarksville. Now, Bill is one of the few people who makes a living, or at least part of a living, by raising and displaying big game animals. Bill has been at many outdoor events, including our outdoor fair last July, and he'll be back again this July in Brighton. You may have seen him at the Anderson Archery Clinic or maybe even at the Ionia Free Fair. The animals that Bill takes on tour are not animals that have been taken from the wild. These are animals that Bill raises from babies, and they come from private deer herds, many of them from his own deer. The only reason Bill's animals are not wild in their behavior is because he's around them from the time they're born. The fawns are bottle fed, and they aren't afraid of Bill, but not all of his fawns can go on the road with him. Many of the deer, even if they've been bottle fed, are too hyper around crowds. Some of the deer can handle crowds, and those are the deer that Bill takes on the road. Now, you may think that these deer are cute and would be fun to have as a pet. Well, as cartoon characters like Bambi, deer are always docile. But even the most tame deer can go out of control during their mating season in the fall. That's what happened 1 year ago when Bill tried to load a trophy buck onto a trailer the day after Thanksgiving. Now, he'll tell us that story in a minute. But first, let's do a flashback to July when Bill was herding a big buck out of its pen to take to a show.
Come here, buddy. Come here. Come on. Come on.
Most of Bill's shows are in the spring and summer when the bucks are in the velvet, and they're very docile at this time of year. This is exactly what Bill was trying to do on November 24th, 1997, when the buck did not cooperate.
Come on, buddy. Come on. You're all right. You're okay. Come on. Getting a snack on the way.
Herding a tame whitetail buck from its pen to a trailer is not an easy task in the summertime, but it's as easy as it gets. Bill has to be cautious and reassure the buck because if it panics, Bill could get hurt.
Okay, he's still got 2 months of growing yet to do, so he's going to be 10 or maybe more.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Jeez.
he's got a lot of growing to go. Come on, buddy. Come on. Oh, shut that behind Matt. Come on, get up there. Attaboy.
Bill can turn his back on Buddy in the summer when the buck's antlers are in the velvet, but at this time of year, in November, just being near a whitetail buck can be extremely dangerous.
You're okay. You gotta put this board in there, Matt.
Oh, okay.
You're okay. I haven't put it in here when he's been in here though, so.
What does that do?
It keeps him so you don't chew my wires up.
Oh.
So I got lights and brakes.
So it's happened before then?
Yeah. They still like to chew on things. There. Stay there.
That's it.
Yep, that's all there is to it. As long as they don't jump out.
What you just saw was
Like
a
that.
flawless loading of a big buck onto Bill Yoder's fifth-wheel trailer. Now, during the summer, Bill has never had a problem loading his animals for the shows. The fifth-wheel trailer carries 3 or 4 big bucks and usually a fawn or two to various locations in Michigan and around the Midwest. Now, the front of the fifth wheel has sleeping quarters where Bill can cook and stay when he's on the road with his animals. On November 24th, 1997, Bill started loading his bucks onto this trailer when one of the big boys with a huge polished rack decided he didn't want to go to a show with Bill.
The buck that is in this pen, his name is Reese. He was born 5/30/94, so a 4-year-old buck. This buck is not a normal buck in a number of ways. I mean, not normal in its temperament, not normal in what it did to its keeper.
And I'm not normal to live through it, is what happened. I caught him on a bad day. It was the day after Thanksgiving, and there's always wild deer up around here, and they got him all riled up. And what I did, I come and opened this door. I was going to a show, and he was standing up there on the hill. I looked down. I looked that way and opened the door, and he hit the gate right here and knocked me down. And then he started goring me all the way down through here.
These are the antlers?
These are the antlers that he had.
Now, I might explain that this is not his skull, although Bill may have wanted to do that to this deer. This is a fake skull here that's put on, but these are the shed antlers that he gored you with.
Right. I can match up the holes in my legs with these antlers.
Well, let's do that just for...
Okay, I was laying on the ground, and these antlers tines right here went in there and right there because I was curled up. So this one went clear through my leg and come out here. And this, clear through. And this one went clear through my calf. He picked me up and carried me down this alley and back on his head. And I weighed 200 pounds. It went clear through and
just with those two
tines stuck in my leg. He carried me down there and brought me back and then just kept working me over. He went clear through this leg on this side. You can see all the pink spots.
Got one here, one here,
There's a lot of scrapes.
So he
I tried to stay in a ball, and he just kept goring me, and my bottom is full of holes. And they up taking all my...
You mean, hold it, your rear end?
Yes.
He got you laid on your stomach?
Well, no, I stayed on a ball, but he'd roll me over and get me then in the rear end.
Oh, man.
And that went real deep into my cavity where they had to clean all that out, so I have nothing inside of me. I have a colostomy now.
A colostomy bag right there?
Right there. And
holy cow, this is not the best looking navel I've ever seen.
No, this looks better than it did.
Now, is this from him or surgery?
It's part of it and surgery. This is from surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble with my colon to begin with, and then he really messed it up, so they had to clean everything out. They thought someday I may reattaching me, but they can't anymore. I'll have this for the rest of my life.
Wow. Gored by a pet deer. And here he is.
Yep, here he is.
Look at
He's going to be a heavy
size of the base of those velvety antlers. My golly.
See, now his neck is down where it should be.
He's out of rut.
Yep.
So he's friendly right now.
Yep.
Now this is the deer that caused you to be in the hospital how long?
3.5 months altogether.
In the hospital?
Yes.
Did they ever think that you weren't going to make it?
Well, I didn't think I was going to make it the first day, but they thought I'd just have a lot of problems, which I do yet. I still have one wound that hasn't healed up.
And this deer right now, all things are forgotten, huh?
Yeah. We're buddies again.
Well, what is the lesson from this?
The lesson, I'm not going to do any shows during the rut, is what I learned. And or else have more help to load what intimidates him a little more. Because he's not afraid of me, so he'd come at me.
This is what he had on his head.
Last year when he got me.
Last year like that, and right through this door,
yes,
you curled up in a ball, and he started working you with the antlers.
He just worked me over. My friends come over while I was in the emergency room, tried to get him back in here, and he was throwing that gate around like it was nothing. You can see all the paint's gone, where he rubbed all that off. He was picking that up and throwing it around like nothing.
Well, how did this end? I mean, what stopped it?
I don't know. I think because he thought I was dead, or I thought I was dead. I kind of gave up because I was bleeding so bad. I think he went down and fought with Neil, and then I crawled out. I don't really remember doing it, but all I know is that somehow I called 911.
So nobody was home at the time?
Nobody was home. I was all by myself. And I tried yelling, but he hit me so hard the first time, knocked the wind on me, so I My neighbors were hunting back here. They heard a commotion, but these bucks they fight all the time. So they just figured they was fighting each other.
And this was when?
The day after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
We're not
And that's why the DNR wants to confiscate pet deer that have been turned loose, that have their antlers, that are out. Sometimes they go to bus stops where kids
right.
are.
They're not afraid. They'll come. They might hurt somebody. People say, well, why don't you turn them loose? I said, no, because in the dark, some bow hunter will get gored or killed, or kids. You know, they don't understand that because they're not afraid of you.
And this reaction wasn't one against a person,
No,
particularly.
no.
He would
It's
have done
just
that with
his
another
cycle,
buck.
right? Yeah, it's just that time of the year where he wanted to fight or breed or something, and I happened to be in the way.
So that was November 24th of last year.
Yeah,
You got out of the hospital not long ago.
not long. I've been in and out. I'd come home a while, then I'd go back in. And right now I had all so much nerve damage, I can't feel anything in my legs
Is that right?
or in my rear either.
Did you ever at any time hate this deer or
No.
hate your deer or say, I'm done with this?
No, they come down at the hospital when I was in emergency yet and ask, what do you know, destroy him or something? And I said, no, it's not his fault, which it wasn't. You just can't, if it's a bear or whatever, even a cow will kill you, you know, the wrong time of the year, you know. So it just doesn't matter. You just got to respect them certain times.
So which tines were they?
It was these right here. Yeah.
These two.
Because he had his head right against my leg here and them tines sticking through, and I was trying to talk to him, you know, and his head was right there. And and I'm curled up, and I couldn't get on my feet because he had me stuck, you know.
Wow.
They said, why? Everybody said, why didn't you grab a hold of him? Jeez, when you got something going nuts on you and you don't even get off the ground, there's no way you can.
How much did he weigh at the time?
He was about, I'd say he was 275, 280.
So he had 80 pounds on you?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's the story of Reese, the tame buck. These antlers just about
Killed me.
bought the farm for Bill Yoder. And here he is, what, 7, 8 months later, as if nothing happened.
Just like a kitten.
The lesson is, though, don't trust wild animals.
Don't trust them. Even in the wild, you get one, you know, that getting cornered or something's wrong, you got to watch it.
I guess. Well, I'm glad you're with us
So am I.
and sharing the deer and the deer stories with
They
people.
wouldn't let me go because I owe too much money at the bank, so they kept me alive.
Well, I guess I'm going to live forever.
Yeah.
What a harrowing experience for Bill Yoder. Of course, he was written up in the newspapers, and we tried to get a hold of the recording when he called 911, but they erased those after 30 days. I didn't know that. Now, I'm going to be resuming a segment of this show that I tried out during the past year. It's called In the News, where I take a look at some of the articles and headlines that have been in newspapers and other media that relate in some way to the outdoors. Oftentimes, there's more to the story that we know or may have experienced in our travels. For example, the November 11th issue of the Lansing State Journal ran an article about the storm that pounded the northern states on the anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Matt Radzlowski and I had been in the UP during that first big storm in September. The wind howled, waves pummeled the Lake Superior shoreline. That was quite a sight, but not nearly as nasty as that November 10th storm. Matt wished he was there with a camera so he could capture the violence of Lake Superior during a storm like that. Now, on November 12th, the Detroit News had an article and a photo of a boat stuck when water in the canals of Lake St. Clair dropped because of that November 10th storm. When 40-mile-an-hour winds blew from the south, water from Lake St. Clair was actually blown north. The water depth along the northern shore was a foot or so deeper than normal, and shallow areas in the south were blown nearly dry. It just so happened that we had a duck hunting trip scheduled for Saginaw Bay on November 10th, and the south wind blew the water out of the canals around Sebewaing and Bayport. Even the Red Wings flag on Brian Henry's airboat was taking a beating in the wind. Now, an airboat is the only way anybody could get into the bay on that day. See, there was no water in the canals where hunters usually launch their boats. The only vehicle that can slide over mud like that is an airboat. You know, the bottom of Brian's boat is steel plated in case he scrapes over rocks or other obstructions. This boat took 4 of us, plus a dog, plus our gear and decoys, 4 miles out into Saginaw Bay for several hours of rather miserable duck hunting. The islands in that part of the bay sheltered us from most of the waves, but hunting in that kind of wind was an experience that we won't forget, nor are we likely to repeat anytime soon. Naturally, there was a fair amount of press about the opening of deer season, and for the most part it was positive, or at least objective. On November 8th, Tony Hansen for the Gannett News Service wrote an article quoting DNR sources as saying they expected hunters to harvest about 258,000 deer during this firearm season, which would be a near record. Now, on November 11th, Lynn Henning from the Detroit News wrote a story about the DNR's predictions that hunting fatalities and accidents may rise due to the legalization of tree stands for gun hunters. We'll be following this to see what actually happens during the season. And on November 15th, opening day, the State Journal and I'm sure most other papers noted that firearm deer season began at daybreak. Front page articles. The Journal had a nice article written by Travis Sales, a senior at Weberville High School, explaining hunting as his family tradition. Now on Tuesday, the 16th, an Associated Press wire service story talked about the positive economic effects of deer season for retailers. And there were a couple of articles in the Detroit News that talked about the hit businesses take the middle of November because of the number of employees who leave for deer hunting. Workers hunt, employees cope was the headline. Now, the guy that wrote these articles, interestingly enough, was named George Hunter. I wondered if that was a pen name. So what about the season and the reports on the opening day? Well, on the 16th, Dave Ritchie, Detroit News Outdoor editor, concluded that windy opener yielded few bucks. That normally a Sunday opener attracts fewer hunters than a Thursday or Friday or Saturday opener. And this opener appeared to be right on track. Buck poles apparently had fewer than normal hanging on opening day. But down at Mill Creek Sports Center in Dexter, the bucks were as big as ever. We got there the evening of the 16th, saw lots of big racks, talked to hunters who had been extremely successful. Now here's a significant news item. Our magazine finally rolled off the presses with a new look. Next week I'm going to give you the tallies on the opinion poll, take you to deer camp in the UP. We didn't slay the deer, but the weather sure put us in the Christmas spirit. The new magazine, across the masthead here, it says, "The Road to Independence and Leisure and Recreation." There's a real purpose for that nowadays. Very frankly, I've never seen so much bickering, fussing, criticizing in the outdoors as I have seen in this past year. I mean, it's epidemic all over. Sportsman versus sportsman, it just is getting out of control. I found to have fun outdoors, which is my goal. I like this road to independence, getting out there with a truck camper and making our own fun. We have a lot of fun that way. I want to share that with you because I think that's what's needed in this day and age. Now I can share with you some ideas on fishing. There has been some darn good fishing around. Look at this. You don't think of this as being a time to catch perch. They're getting them up to 14 inches down here in the Detroit River. A walleye are hit and miss. A Lakeside fishing shop says that they're getting 12 to 25 perch per angler, and they're getting these also Lake St. Clair private marinas. You fish right from the dock, so they're in close. Over in South Haven, deer hunting has been fair. Steelhead, fair. King salmon, fair, but they're getting some up to 35 pounds in the St. Joe River. Whitehall reports fair deer hunting, but some big bucks. Of course, we know there's big bucks in the lower, a few in the upper, but some limits of steelhead and good panfish fishing. Ludington, deer hunting has been good. According to Charlie, just fishing bait and tackle, some steelhead and perch, some limits, and they're good-sized ones. Over here at Frank's Great Outdoors, Ernie Linwood says deer hunting has been good. Walleye fishing has been okay. Perch have been slow, though, because of the weather. Oscoda, Dave at Wellman's ranks deer hunting as good. 11 Point has been the biggest. Steelhead limits and whitefish. We're talking the regular whitefish, lake whitefish, not the Menominee. They're getting them off the pier here in Lake Huron. Pilgrim's Village, Steve says deer hunting has been fair. Racks haven't been huge. They are getting walleye limits. This is at night in Lake Cadillac, if you care to get out there then, and a few big pike. Indian River, now this is the only place in the state where one of our sources says the deer hunting has been great. 11 Point biggest. Walleye limits in Burt Lake, few steelhead. Up here at Drummond Island, flight ducks are showing up. Well, I guess it's about time. Deer hunting is ranked good up here. which is the best in the UP. According to Donna at Birch Tree, they're seeing lots of rabbits. Muskogee Bay, Judy says deer hunting has been slow. They've had lots of winds there. The 6 point is the biggest that they've heard of in that area. Gladstone, look at the walleye, 8 to 12 pounds. Holy cow, you want to get out there, and the wind is a little bit of a problem. Deer hunting has been slow. Up in Marquette, deer hunting has been slow. 6 point, the biggest. Whitefish limits off the breakwall. Over the west end of the UP, Ontonagon, deer hunting has been slow, but Don reports a 13 point being the biggest. Up in the Keweenaw, Paul at Dick's Favorite Sports says deer hunting has been slow. There has been a 15 point reported there. We're chasing that down. Duck hunting has been so-so. Of course, ice fishing, forget it. There's just a bit of skim ice in some parts of the UP. We did have some snow over west of Marquette when we were hunting up there, but with this warm weather, there's no snow now. Well, that wraps up our Thanksgiving show. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to have brand new programs coming at you every week for the next 6 months. We're going to be traveling all over the state on this program, and I hope that I can motivate you to get off of that couch at home, get independent, get on the road with an RV. It's a great way to enjoy Michigan's outdoors. See you next week.
Anyway, Ben, you're from Wixom, an Oakland County buck.
Yep. I killed this one in Novi, and I killed that in Wixom. Last year, I was on the show with a 15 point that was actually a lot bigger than both of these put together that I killed in Wayne County with a bow. I killed that in Northville. But
What is your deal? You don't work?
Actually, I work at the Ford Wixom plant. I kill all my deer on the weekends, it seems like, but I spend a lot of time scouting in the woods in the off season, and I've called in most of my deer. I've killed 26 deer, and I'm 21. So.
I tell you what, we got about 7 conservation officers right now. Let's see, 21 minus divided by, 21 deer. How many of those are bucks?
9. I've killed 5 deer that are Pope and young.
So how do you do that?
Like I said, I scout a lot. I make sure there's a big buck in the area. I try to get on a rub line or a scrape line. I set up, I wait till the wind's blowing right. Then I get in when between the last week of October, first week of November, when the rut's really kicking in. I get in, grunt them in. They come in looking for a fight, and I zap them.
You know, I just figured it out. Zap, that's a hunting term. Now I know why the traffic is always bottlenecked and slows down. Everybody's scouting. They're checking out the rub lines both sides of the road. Just tell me, is it anywhere near the expressway?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's all we need to know. Now it is going to slow the traffic down. Well, this is outstanding. This is the.
I got that actually with a gun this year, and I got this one with a bow. I got them. Killed this November 1st, and that one the second day of gun.
You're something else. So we're going to see you like you're going to be
every
a regular.
year. You're going to see me every year.
I look forward to it.
I have a few other deer that are bigger than these that I've never came on the show. But now I'm getting older. I got more guts. I'll come on the show.
Okay. We'll look forward to seeing you, Ben Kerr from Wixom. That's great.